Ready. Ready. Okay. Well, I'll call this meeting of the Town of Milton to order for Wednesday, June 10th, 7:30 via Zoom conference. We'll start off with the pledge by Councilman Isaacs.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ryan. Brenda, can you call the roll, please?
Councilman Blaisdell.
Present.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Present.
Councilman Froelich.
Present.
Councilman Isaacson.
Present.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Present. Okay, motion to accept the May 13th town board meeting minutes as presented. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Next, the motion to accept the minutes of the May 27th town board meeting as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Sorry.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Well, we have a couple of minutes because the public hearing is supposed to be at 7:35, right, Jim?
That's what it was advertised for, yeah.
Is there going to be any problem if we just scoot it up a minute?
I would wait because if that's what the posting was, people have a right to wait to hear you introduce it to something.
Okay. All right.
So you can move on to something else, or you can start her up as soon as we get to 7:35.
What about the June 3rd meeting minutes?
Thank you, Brenda.
Sorry about that. I crossed them up before we did them. Motion to accept the June 3rd emergency special meeting minutes as presented. So moved.
Make them. I'll second.
Sorry
All right. Any discussion? Okay, Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. I was hoping my clock would say 35 by the time I said yes. Next up will be a public hearing for local law 2 of 2020 to modify Code Chapter 63, Sections 63-1 and 63-5 to allow dog control within portions of the village of Boston Spa that are within the town of Milton.
Mr. Supervisor, just for clarification on that, when the village abolished their animal control, by default, New York state law requires the town to do animal control or dog control within the village portions that are within the town. And so all this law is doing is modifying our current statute to be in compliance with state law. Because our statute as it reads says that we'll only provide it outside the village.
Right.
I got 7:35. You can have Brenda read the notice.
Oh, okay. And I've messed up and lost everybody here. Hang on a second. Well, I can see Jim. I guess that's something. All right, go ahead, Brenda.
June 1st. Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Milton will conduct a public hearing on June 10th, 2020 at 7:40 p.m. on the following local law to amend the Code of the Town of Milton, Chapter 63, Section 63-1 and 63-5, to allow dog control in those portions of the village of Ballston Spa that are within the Town of Milton boundaries. Said public hearing will be at the Town of Milton Community Center, 310 North Line Road, Ballston Spa, New York, and via Zoom meeting at, and then it's the Zoom link. Do you want me to read that out, or is that okay?
That's
All right. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Milton, dated June 1st, 2020, Brenda J. Howe, Town Clerk.
Okay, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? I am scanning the list of 37 attendees. I don't see anyone with a hand up that wishes to speak. I'm looking at the questions. Nothing appears to be in that vein. So I will give it another 30 seconds or so if anybody wishes to speak about the village and the town and the transfer of dog control. Going once, going twice, gone. I will close the public hearing for local law 2 of 2020. So I need a motion to approve resolution number 38 of 2020 to adopt local law of 2020. Whereas the village of Ballston Spa has abolished its dog control officer within village limits, and the town of Milton animal control officer has encountered some instances where it would be necessary to answer to an incident that is or has taken place in portions of the village that are within the town of Milton boundaries. Whereas the town of Milton control officer has requested that Town Code Chapter 33, Sections 63-1 and 63-5 be modified to include portions of the village of Ballston Spa that are within the town of Milton boundaries. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Milton recognizes that by law the town must provide coverage and believes it to be in the town's best interest, as well as in the best interest of those town residents, to enact local law. And whereas the board was to have drafted a local law for consideration, which had been on the desk of board members for at least 7 days prior to any hearing, and the board set a public hearing for that matter. The official notice of said public hearing was duly and properly advertised in the official newspaper of the town of Milton. On May 27th, 2020, public hearing was held as required by law, and all those interested parties were invited to attend and be heard on the subject. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Milton hereby approves the modification of current Town Code Chapter 63, Sections 63-1 and 63-5, allowing dog control in these portions of the village of Ballston Spa that are within the Town of Milton boundaries, and adopts local law 2 of 2020, a full copy of which is attached here too. Be it further resolved that the town clerk be and she hereby is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Milton, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of New York State. Now therefore be it resolved by the Town Board, the Town of Milton. This resolution was duly adopted on May 27th, 2020. So I need a motion to enact local law 2 of 2020.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes. Next up is a public hearing for local law 3 of 2020, repealing local law 3 of 2019, also known as local law 1 of 2020, under the state database. So I will open the public hearing.
You have to read the notice first.
Oh, sorry, Brenda.
Okay. Again, this one in the paper, June 1st, 2020. Please take notice that the town board of the town of Milton will conduct a public hearing on June 10th, 2020 at 7:40 p.m. on the following local law to repeal local law number 3 of 2019, aka local law number 1 of 2020 under the state database of the town of Milton, entitled Regulating Short-Term Rentals in the Town of Milton. Said public hearing will be at the Town of Milton Community Center, 310 North Line Road, Ballston Spa, New York, via Zoom meeting at, and the link, by order of the Town Board of the Town of Milton, dated June 1st, 2020, Brenda J. Howe, Town Clerk.
Okay, I will now open the public hearing for the repeal of the local law pertaining to short-term rentals. Anyone wishing to speak, please signify by raising your hand if you can, or asking a question. You will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. I will warn you at 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 30 seconds.
You got 3 hands up.
I see them. We will start with Jenna Singer. Remember to state your name and address for the record.
She's on.
Okay, Ms. Singer, you're up.
Okay, so hello, my name is Jenna Singer, 585 Akron Boulevard. I'm speaking to you tonight to once again urge you to repeal the Milton rental law. One thing we have heard is that home sharing creates excessive disturbances to our town, especially noise. However, when under the Freedom of Information Act, we foiled and got complaints, there was one report from July of 2018. In the report, it says the call was made at 3:45 p.m. on a weekend. A code enforcer came to my home and found that there was actually no violation when noise levels were recorded from the street. This event shows that, 1, there is not an excessive amount of noise generated by renters, and 2, there were, prior to the rental law, reasonable codes and laws enforceable to protect all members of the Milton community. The rental law is redundant and discriminatory, and I urge you to repeal this legislation to support the vocal and active members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Carrie.
Yep, hello. This is Carrie Jackson. Hi, 924 MacArthur Drive. We do have a few other people that should be speaking tonight. I did just want to point out, in addition to what Jenna said, that there were a lack of significant complaints, and that the law was crafted in a manner that was overreaching and invasive. One complaint should not be ignored. I will make that clear. When a resident has a complaint, it should be listened to by the town. I absolutely agree with that. But when there is not an overwhelming majority of complaints or an overwhelming majority of people who are requesting such a law, I think we should be mindful to craft that in that case. We thank you for listening. We thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. And if anything else, this situation that has gone on for months and months has brought to light the fact that the board needs to be more transparent, and that we as town members cannot just trust our town officials to always do the right thing. So we will be paying more attention to what goes on in the town. And that's all I have to say. And I thank my neighbors for coming together on this so that we can see this rectified by the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Hurst.
Herbst, yes, Bridget Herbst, 586 Ackland Boulevard.
I've got two things. I got a board meeting.
I won't take up anybody else's time with redundancy or talking about things that I've talked about at 4 to 5 meetings now, but I think one of the things that's really come to light recently is that the county is going to face some serious economic hardships in the next few months because of the COVID-19 shutdown. I think particularly Saratoga Springs businesses are going to hit hard, and one of the things that this law did is really prohibit tourism to the area. I think it would be a disservice to Saratoga County, to the taxpayers who are going to get hit with a higher tax bill if we do not repeal this law and fully allow for tourism to the county. We've proven the fact that there's been only one serious complaint that Jenna talked about, which turned out to not even be a complaint. It turned out to be some kids in a swimming pool. And the other thing that was discussed at the last meeting when we talked about this is that, contrary to what we were told, the town would be incurring liability if they were to take on the permit process as they saw it now. And I don't think any of the taxpayers in the town at this point would want the town to take on any other liability or anything that's going to potentially raise taxes any more than they may need to be raised. I want to thank the board for bringing this up. I really ask that all board members vote to repeal this law. I think we've showed that the way the last administration handled this was done poorly, without any transparency, and without any real, without really looking into the situation. So I thank the board for getting it this far, and I would really encourage all board members to vote to repeal this law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Ms. Burton.
Hi, thank you. This is Heather Bruno from 950 Garden Drive. Thank you for this public hearing for local law 3-2020 to repeal local law 3-2019. Repealing this law is necessary to restore the public's trust in our local government official. The claims that this local law passed for the safety of the community are not consistent with the data provided through our FOIL request. The FOIL request documented 3 complaints that were all unrelated to home sharing. Our community safety priorities need to be keeping public areas safe from violence and vandalism, such as you did with the stealing of the pride flag, the water quality and control in our neighborhoods, the traffic safety, speed regulations, intersection safety, and supporting our emergency workers to provide them with the support they need to decrease response times. This community voiced concerns in the last election about the transparency and ethics of town officials in Milton. We're taking notes and will continue to make our voices heard. It is our hope that this board hears our cry to have officials that speak to facts, not fear-mongering, and are true to their words. Local Law 3-2019 needs to be repealed, with Local Law 3-2020 to restore community faith in a town government promised to work with its constituents to solve problems, not against them to create problems. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up will be Kimberly Amodio. Okay, apparently Ms. Amodio is using an older version of Zoom, so I will temporarily move Ms. Amodio up as a panelist, where she will be given 3 minutes to speak, and just like everybody else, so we'll see how that will work. Did it work? And
There she is.
let's see.
Gotta take her off mute.
Yep. Okay, 3 minutes. You start now.
Hi, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak tonight. After speaking with many of the local business owners in the town, many of them had concerns about this local law and how it would, affect their business. And I just want to say that, many of our properties are situated outside of obviously the downtown main hotel district and area. And of the large majority of short-term rentals that are outside of that area, approximately, depending on what website, many like 40 to 50% of the people in our neighborhoods that come here to stay in our homes are spending money in our local economy right here in the town of Milton. So it's really a very clear correlation between the location of our vacation rentals and where they're going out to eat, to drink, to order, get their gas, do their banking. So we can really deduce that the properties like those listed on the home sharing websites that we use can directly benefit our local economy. And without them, especially with COVID-19 going on, it will definitely have a poor impact on our local businesses. And I know that many of the business owners who I've directly spoken to have voiced their concerns and said that they are in support of having this law overturned. So thank you for listening to the people in the town of Milton and also your local business owners to make the decision to overturn this law. So thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next up is Galaxy 57. We will need your name and address before you say anything else. Please. I'm trying. It just won't unmute Galaxy 57. Try it up here. It's not working. It's not. Nope. I'm trying, but it won't let me unmute. I'm gonna just skip over here for a second there and see if I can, anybody else. Let's try. Mr. Rossi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. 3 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Frank Rossi, Jr., 63 South Oak Ave, Apartment B. And I've also spot. Sorry about that. I'm a little confused because, the last time we all got together, which seems like ages ago, at Town Hall, we had this discussion, and this was never a discussion about whether or not short-term rentals should be allowed in the town of Milton, as the previous speakers seem to be denoting. This is a question of safety for people coming in and evaluating that fact for any customers coming in that don't have the chance to see that for themselves. And I use the comparison as somebody that runs apartments, for instance. I take somebody through the apartment for them to see the safety of that apartment. If there's an issue or whatever, there's a complaint that can be made to a building inspector, etc., and that's how it gets resolved. In these situations, folks have to depend on the advertisements that exist, and if there's a safety issue, there's no other way to handle it at that point in time. So basically the town's coming in, like many other towns and municipalities across the land, and are saying, we're going to step in here and try to at least reduce the chaos in these situations, reduce the safety issues. To me, anybody that's standing up and saying this is going to kill short-term rentals locally is basically saying this is going to kill our desire to make it safe, or that I'm not safe in the first place, or I don't want to get the business insurance policy that's sort of required in these situations. You're paying sales tax, or suggesting sales tax comes out of this, or using occupancy tax, and one would think that you're operating as a business in the first place. So there's a lot of questions that get thrown into this situation when you hear a lot of these discussions tonight. And as Councilman Froelich had stated in the last group meeting we had, the current use code doesn't even allow this use in the first place. And so I'm not sure how repealing this resolves the actual concerns that the previous
1 minute, sir.
in terms of whether or not they can even use those locations right now as short-term rentals or not. But again, the safety is a paramount concern in this day and age. And I think after the last 3 months, we really put safety in a whole different measure. At this point, I question what the previous speakers are looking at, because repeal of this law is, or let's say maintaining this law is not basically saying, oh, we're ending short-term rentals locally. It's a free
30 seconds, sir.
Have somebody come in and look at your home that you're using as a short-term rental. So what's the issue? What are you hiding? Where are the dead bodies, as they always used to say? Where are they? Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, apparently we have lost Galaxy 57. I apologize. No, they're down there, but their hand is no longer up. I will say this to Galaxy 57, there is a question and answer section down at the bottom. If you'd like to make a statement that way, I will be happy to read it for you. Next up would be Jennifer Burzy. I hope I get that right.
Hello.
Good to have you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jen Furs of 947 MacArthur Drive, and I guess I'm a little confused what Mr. Rossi was referring to in terms of not providing safe homes and why this would be dangerous. My family, my 3 children live in my home. There is nothing safer to me than my home. And in terms of insurance, I am fully insured by my insurance company, and any platform that rents, I know that any of my neighbors rent through, have full insurance policies of up to $1 million. So I think he needs to continue to do his own research on safety. And if he was so concerned about the safety in our Milton neighborhoods, maybe we should take a look at the response times of our fire and EMS workers. I appreciate the board for listening to all of our concerns. I think that based on just the sheer numbers of who shows up for these meetings and what our opinions are, it speaks, it speaks to what needs to be done this evening. So thank you.
Thank you.
Benny, I think you missed Andrea Burton.
Okay.
No, I didn't have my hand up.
I didn't. How did you get this?
You're there, Andrea. Okay.
Okay. Next up would be Mr. Scott Jackson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right, this is Scott Jackson, 924 MacArthur Drive. I just want to say thank you, first of all, for, I know it's tough situations in getting this heard before the public. As a previous person spoke about the safety, I personally think they should stay concerned with their apartment buildings and solely worry about that and not worry about their own personal homes. We take this money, and I continuously update my home with using this money time and time again. So my home is in tip-top shape for my children, my wife, and myself time and time again. My neighbors and myself and my wife have provided numerous pieces of evidence that this law should never have been enacted and should never go forward again. It should be repealed tonight. And again, I do want to say thank you for bringing it up. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Next up is Mr. Curry.
Thank you. This is Tom Curry from 687 Stark Terrace. I just wanted just a couple points. One is that, we bought our house to live in, not as a business. So, we take our tenants very seriously, how they'll reflect on our house, treat our house, and, how they'll be courteous to our neighbors. I own apartment buildings, and they are treated very differently than my house. So that's the first piece of it. I think people think of us as business owners. We're not. We're homeowners that rent our house a few weeks a year. Second piece is all the money that we make on our house goes back into the house. We've used the money for hiring a landscaper, continuing repairs, putting a new roof on the house, a new driveway. And I think that leads to my third point, which is it all goes local. We use local.
Ms. Morosi, you're up. Gina, you're up. Well, your microphone is on, Ms. Morosi. You're up. Can anybody else on the board see that her hand is up and I've unmuted her?
Yes.
Okay. Gina, can you hear us? Rosie, I will unmute you again. Let's try again. Gina, can you hear us? Your microphone is open, Mrs. Morosi. It's whenever you can start. I don't see any questions or statements down there. Again. And can you hear us?
This is Frank Rossi again. Would it help if I got her on speakerphone through my device? I have her number.
Yeah, that would be great.
Give me 1 second.
Benny, I see a question from Gina saying, can you hear me? So sometimes you open her microphone.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can now, yes, go ahead.
Okay, I don't know why I couldn't unmute. I apologize. It's Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane, Boston Spot. My comment is to the the woman and the two gentlemen that were stating that their homes were the safest places that they know because their families live there. If that's the case, then what's the problem with having an inspection? You should pass with flying colors. And second of all, if you're offering your home up as a rental, you immediately turn into a business. You go from a homeowner to a rental property, and you are subject to different rules than being a homeowner. That's just basic. If this is not an allowed use, revoking this law means nothing. If something has to be done about either allowing this use or making circumstances to allow this use or to deny this use and uphold the current law. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Okay, Frank, I'm gonna mute you again here. Oh, you were, okay. And Tina is muted, okay. Does anyone else have anything to add?
One more question, Penny.
Sure, John. One more question from somebody?
Yes.
Up, down, at the bottom. Okay, sorry, John. Let's see, Gina, can you hear me? No, we couldn't. We're going to dismiss that question. Does the town board, this question is from Becky. Becky, you'll have to type in the address for us, please. Under the questions and answers there. Does the town board have any knowledge, or I'll phrase this as a question, or this would be her statement. Does the town board have any knowledge of what Airbnb is doing to protect our town from people renting that may be sick? Are the homeowners taking extra precautions to ensure the health and safety of our residents? Becky Dreer from 606 Sunny Lane, sick meaning COVID-19. Okay, thank you, Becky, for your comments. Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And a motion to approve Resolution 39-2020 to adopt local law 3. Whereas in 2019, the town enacted a local law regulating short-term rentals within the town, entitled Regulating Short-Term Rentals in the Town of Milton, as Local Law 3 of 2019, which was filed as Local Law 1 of 2020 in the state database. Whereas after discussion, consideration, and review, the board feels that said local law was premature and enactment passed without sufficient consideration and worthy of further consideration and review. Whereas in consideration of such, the board caused to have drafted for consideration a local law repealing the law regulating short-term rentals which had been on the desk of board members for at least 7 business days prior to the meeting at which the board set a public hearing. And the board set a public hearing for the matter. An official notice of said public hearing was duly and properly advertised in the official newspaper of the town of Milton. And on June 10th, a public hearing was held as is required by law, and all those interested were invited to participate and be heard on the subject. Whereas the town of Milton believes it is in the town's best interest, as well as in the best interest of the town's residents at this time, to enact said local law, but that further consideration can be given to the matter at a later date. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Milton that local law 3 of 2020 is hereby approved, adopted, and enacted, repealing local law 3 of 2019, entitled Regulating Short-Term Rentals in the Town of Milton in its entirety. Full copy of which law, of local law 3 of 2020 is attached here too. And be it further resolved that the town clerk be and she hereby is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the town of Milton, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law 2 and filing it with the Secretary of the State of New York. Now, be resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. motion to approve local law 3.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have several things I'd like to talk about tonight. To begin with, there is no way, when the statement is made that we're putting short-term rentals out of business, there is no intent of this law to do that. We are strictly looking at safety issues. When I went and did my research and I look at 13 other communities in New York State, the most recent one being the town of Queensbury that just adopted a short-term rental law. We have the town of Lake George, Lake Placid, and the town of North Elba, Village of Lake George, Wardensburg, Woodstock, Cooperstown, Hudson. And I made up a little spreadsheet as far as what their regulations required and what ours did. And when I went across, all of them required a license. Then when we looked at the annual cost, ours requires no annual cost. Well, we looked at cost anywhere from $50 to $400 a year. When we looked at off-street parking regulations, they all required it. When we looked at noise regulations, they required that. When we looked at no on-street parking, they required that. When we looked at garbage removal, which is in our law, we all required that. When we looked at municipal bed taxes, there were, out of 13, I believe, 11 that require a municipal bed tax, which we do not. There are some that require septic inspections, there are some that require chimney inspections. All of them require emergency contact information, which we do. All of them require proof of insurance, which we do. I do not see any way that this law is restricting short-term rentals. The problem with the short-term rentals is people are going to groan and carry on, but they all, for instance, the town of Queensbury sets their number of people that can rent their houses at 2 persons per bedroom based on their assessment and what is listed with the town, plus 2 people, which means a 3-bedroom house can have up to 8 persons in it. Now, when we look at rentals, and I look at rentals across our town, we have more than that staying in these houses, which means they do not have the proper bedroom space for these people. That is why this has become a safety issue. This is not to put anybody out of business, it's not to stifle anybody, it's strictly to do it safely. And I really hate to see this town board vote against public safety, and that's exactly what we're doing tonight.
Are you finished, John? I wanted to say something. I think this law was voted on much too quickly without across the board input from all the residents on both sides of the issue. We still have an active committee, and I think there's a lot of these things that are going to be looked into, and we can come to some compromise so we're not, as you're saying, ignoring public safety. No one wants to do that. And you're certainly welcome to come to our meetings or listen to the meetings and see some of the input from the residents. Thank you.
I guess not to be negative, Barb, but how long did it take your committee to decide that you should repeal this law?
How long did it take for the committee to decide they should pass it?
Better part of a year. We researched it and did it. How long did it take?
You didn't speak to people. That was the biggest complaint. For or against. I gave you a list of people to speak to. None of them were contacted. So I mean, like I said, I think I'm.
Don't want to answer my question, Barb. How long did it take your committee to come up with the idea we should repeal this law? And what research did they do?
I think when we started getting input and so much pushback from so many residents that we decided it had to be looked at. And we're 6 months into it right now. So you had a year, we've got 6 months.
I understand that, but the virus is the majority of the 6 months.
Well, we can still meet like we're meeting right now, where people can, people still contact me. I don't know what to tell you. It's something we're going to be working on.
I guess
the virus is affecting things, and I know a lot of these people have lost their rentals, so, I don't think there's a huge push. We'll have it in place, and I think we have a year to look at it and really take time to do what has to be done.
I guess my question to the board is, what is materially wrong with this law? Not how it was passed, how it was anything. The law itself, what is materially wrong?
Is Benny still with us? I don't see his picture anymore.
Oh, where's Benny?
You still there? Where's the Benny? How about Brenda?
You're gone. They probably. It looks like they lost the internet or something at the community center. They're both at the community center.
Let's give them a minute or two to get back. Community center has a generator, correct?
No, I don't think that. I think the internet connection, possibly. Let me give Benny a call. Where are you? Okay, let's see. We lost you and Brenda. Okay, no Wi-Fi at the community center. Can you get to the other Wi-Fi, or is it just that one? Is it just the one or the whole system? Well, Brenda, down at the bottom where it shows your Wi-Fi connection, you've got at least two choices there. You've got the town hall, and you also have the community center. It's a little, on mine, it's a little earth thing. Go out to Brenda, she'll figure it out. Yeah.
It looks like they lost the whole internet in the town.
Milton, I'm sorry. Milton private, secured. That would be our town Wi-Fi.
Can they phone in or dial in on their cell phones, or
phone in or dial in on your cell phones, because we can't go on without you. Okay. All right. Go out with Brenda. Even if the two you have to be on the same.
Jim, it's Frank Rossi. If it's any help, I mean, if they want to drive down to where my Wi-Fi is, which isn't that far from where they are, they're more than welcome to. We can at least send them up here just to finish the meeting out.
Barb, can you relay that to Benny?
I think he's hearing it. Did you hear Frank? He heard him.
If he wants to take me up on it, it's across from the old knitting mill. They park right in front. I'll lead them in and we can go from there.
Thank you, Frank.
No problem, Joe.
Second, folks, I apologize.
I've got you on speaker, so.
Okay. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Anybody over 50 years old will understand that.
Excuse me?
Who are we talking about?
Frank should take exception exception to that.
I do.
Well, for you've probably never experienced technical difficulties, so.
The governor's executive order does allow you here by phone, Benny, if you and Brenda are there and you want to continue, or if you want to take Frank up and head down, try to hook in through his system.
Just hang on a second here,
Back on? Okay. Well, actually, if everyone can hear him, can we do it this?
Comment. I won't be able to let anybody comment.
Oh. You won't be able to read the,
I won't be able to read the comment. Oh, you guys can read it, right? Correct.
Sharon Licata says you can go to her house also. Oh, crap.
Alright, so we have a motion on the table and a second, and there was some discussion. Are you two done with the discussion, or do you still want to continue with that?
No, I think I've said everything I've got to say. I don't
believe I'm attacking.
Well, I would like to say something while we're under discussion here.
Can everybody hear him?
Sort of.
Yes.
No, I'm getting, and Brenda's disappearing too. You're not in either, okay. I agree with Mr. Folish that this law, I agree with John that this law is okay, is good, but it does need some changes, and so, as we've said in the resolution, there is just a repeal of this law due to further consideration and can't remember exactly what it said, but updating or whatever. So this issue is not done, it's not over. We are going to review, the committee will review and make recommendations, and we will come up with something that is more in line with other towns and communities in the area who have passed these laws. So that being said, I'm done with my comments for the evening on this matter.
Is Brenda there to take the roll call, or?
Right. All right, Councilman Blaisdell.
I would like to say that I in full agreement with John and Frank, and I think we need to continue looking forward to making sure that everything is safe. At this point, I think I would say yes, but with the caveat that we are far from finished on this issue and we need to consider safety of everybody.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
No.
Councilman Thompson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalotnik.
Yes, and I agree with Councilman Froelich and Councilman Woodrow that further work needs to be done.
You're back online.
Back online.
Get on, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, let's. Second functions. Oh, it doesn't look like I'm back on.
Well, Brenda's back on.
Can somebody unmute her?
She's coming.
Okay, there. Yeah, we're running out of hotspot.
Brenda, did you get the roll call? You're all set with that?
Yep.
Okay.
Here comes Betty. We're gonna echo. You sit there.
Can I hang up the phone then?
On my agenda, so. Oh, I guess I can hang up, right?
Brenda, what happened to your hair?
What?
Brenda, what happened to your hair?
I'm pulling it out at this meeting. Okay, motion to approve the extension of the state of emergency, which is on my computer. A state of emergency has previously been declared in the town of Milton, effective March 16th, 2020. You make that print bigger? That was subsequently extended several times, with the most recent set to expire on June 15th, 2020, in which pursuant hereto shall be further extended for another 10 days. 30 days, sorry. The state of emergency has been declared for the entire town of Milton due to the following. 1, outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to emergency action necessary to help slow and arrest the spread of this virus, which including reducing the opportunity for instances which individuals come in close contact with one another. These situations threaten the public safety. The state of emergency shall remain in effect for 30 days from this date hereof or until rescinded, modified, or extended by a subsequent order or resolution. As the town supervisor of the town of Milton, I, Benny Sladek, exercise the authority given to me under Section 24 of New York State Executive Law to preserve the public safety and hereby render all required and available assistance vital to the security, well-being, and health of the citizens of this municipality. I hereby direct all departments and agencies of the town of Milton to take whatever steps necessary to protect life and property, the public infrastructure, and provide such emergency assistance deemed necessary and proper by the town board and town supervisor. This declaration may be modified, supplemented, and changed by subsequent orders, declarations, and resolutions. Dated June, tomorrow, 2020. Benny Sladek, Town Supervisor, Town of Milton. I need a motion to extend the declaration.
Quick question, Benny.
Sure, John.
Is there a reason to extend it anymore? I mean, we're pretty much going to be back to full staff working. The biggest reason for having the emergency order was certainly recoup costs that from the federal government, which I probably don't see a lot of costs going forward that we would have with the virus. Do you?
Well, I don't see a whole lot of costs going forward, but until the state and the county get rid of theirs, I don't want to get rid of ours and find out that we may be missing out on some future funding.
Okay.
So it's more of a precautionary measure. Well, they're all precautionary measures, but it's more of just to stay in line with the state and the county. If we were to get off and something happens, a spike kicks in somewhere and they continue theirs, we have a gap, we could be out some funds. So it's not like we're gonna, go off the deep end here. I'm just trying to stay with the county and the state.
Okay, now I'll make that motion.
Thank you, John.
I'll second.
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay. Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zalak.
Yes. Next up is a motion. Yes. No, this is the same one, right? Yeah. Okay. A resolution to ratify the pay and hiring of the working supervisor for the Building and Grounds Department. Whereas the town of Milton was in need of a new working supervisor for the town Buildings and Grounds Department, and whereas the town had interviewed, considered several individuals for said position, and sought the recommendation of the town personnel committee. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby ratifies the hiring of Mark Van Asdale and the appointing of him as working supervisor for the Buildings and Grounds Department, retroactively commencing on March 25th, 2020, with a term as department supervisor going through December 31st, 2020, at an hourly rate of $24.02, with benefits as provided by the town personnel policy, and said hire to be conditioned on a 6-month probation period, commencing from March 25th, 2020, acceptable to the town board and pursuant to town policy. Be resolved by the town board of the town of Milton. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
Yes.
Councilman Froelich.
No.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zelani.
Yes. Okay, not sure how we're gonna do this part now. Brenda, do you have anything available other than that? Participants? Okay. Oops, hang on folks, we're trying something new here. Alright. I don't know if you'll have the power to do anything with these people.
Probably not.
Nope. Okay. Any old business?
Okay. Well, can we talk about facilities for a little bit?
Yeah, that would be under, yep, is that old or new?
I don't know, you tell me.
Let's go with old.
Okay. I think everybody got the paperwork we sent out today about hiring an engineering firm or an architectural firm to do some evaluations and come up with recommendations. The recommendation of the facilities committee is that we hire MJ off that, out of the two quotes that we had. They were pretty similar to each other. I think MJ offered a little more services than the other quote. And I also think MJ's quote was actually a lump sum, where the other quote was a lump sum plus incidentals. So we didn't really, I think when you looked at the whole 9 yards, that's what we were at. So we could, I'd like to improve that if everybody's fine. Or answer questions too.
I've read both of the proposals, and to be honest, John, neither one of them really, lit a fire underneath me. But I at this time, I'm leaning towards MJ myself because they gave us more options, and they gave us a fixed price as opposed to, like you said, with Butler, the other firm who had a set price and then incidentals, and incidentals is too broad of a term for me. So I think I'm okay with MJ.
I personally am not ready to vote on this yet. I think we've got to look across the board and at some financing. I mean, they were both pretty high quotes. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, John, one was 32 and one was 37,000.
I believe that's correct.
Do we really need this? Do we really need this evaluation? Or do we want to come to some idea of what we'd like to do with our town hall and then ask for their advice?
I guess my thought on it, Barb, is if we don't know what the facilities committee broke it down into 4 different scenarios. One was to rebuild what was there. The second scenario was to take and gut out the building and rebuild that building, the old town hall, with all new facilities, basically new heating and air conditioning and everything, because all the facilities in the old town hall generally run about 34 years of age. The third scenario was to rebuild the old town hall with new facilities and add on, and the fourth scenario was to actually take down that building and build a new town hall. Until we know what the cost of each is, I really don't know how we can make a decision. And we can't get the budget figures without having this work done.
Well, I don't think we can make it with the state of the economy, and nobody seems to know what's going to happen in the next few months. It still looks quite grim to me. Until we have some idea, I don't think we can go forward with talking about tearing down town hall and rebuilding. we don't know what's gonna happen. Are we gonna have to raise taxes next year, because of this virus? We don't know what's gonna happen in the fall. And like I said at the facilities meeting, if we have to raise taxes at all, God, I hope we don't, but I think it's something we have to think about. We'll never get a bond through. And so, I just think we're too premature on this right now. Thank you.
I guess where do we go from here then?
Do we have any options to go here? I think we've looked into it the best you can. I don't know where we could go from here.
I think we have to get moving on this. We have winter coming. We have seniors who are asking us, when are we going to get out of here? And as much as I like being here, we need to make some kind of steps forward on this. And so my thoughts are to go with MJ, get this thing started, and do what we got to do. We can't stay here forever. And just talk about.
I've been the one who's been saying we can't stay there forever, so I certainly don't want to do that. I just kind of feel this is an unnecessary step right now. And it's a big expense, so go ahead. If you're going to take a vote, I'll vote my conscience.
Well, I think we're all aware that this is going to be an expensive project no matter what we decide to do. Any of our options, cleaning up the building and a new roof and getting rid of the mold, or whatever option the board decides to come up with.
Well, at this time, that would be my option. Let's get back into town hall, and I've been saying that all along. I think we have to get back into town hall. The situation where now it's not only the seniors, it's wearing on everyone. It's nerve-wracking being in that building, and we have to get out of there.
And looking at MJ's proposal, their option number 1 is repair the existing roof, remediation of the mold and other hazardous materials, reinstall any finished work that was removed. That's option 1. They're going to give us an option.
That's the option I'd like to see. We have plenty of quotes on, or idea of what that's going to cost us. I don't think if we're looking at tearing down town hall, that's a 3 or 4 or 5 year project. We really have nothing but old plans on the table. I'm not even sure how old they are, and I'm sure the space that was allotted in those old plans is not up to date. I'm sure the office needs more space than was required then. So,
the one thing I will say that as it stands right now, the court will not be able to move back into their building. Under the new coronavirus guidelines, they would only be allowed to have about 2 people in that courtroom at a time.
Well, how many are they going to be allowed to have in the community center if they get to open soon?
14.
14 with all the workers in there.
Correct.
Well, then we'll have to go with whatever we have. I mean, if you're going to take a vote, go ahead. I won't dispute it anyway.
Mr. Supervisor, just clarification, did we or did we not get estimates on the mold remediation and on the roof repair? And are we asking MJ for their option number 1 to do the same thing, give us quotes on that, or are we asking them something different?
Well, if my understanding, Jim, I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
If I can clarify it a little bit, Jim, what we got were budget estimates. If we, in fact, decide to go ahead with that scenario, we will actually have to write a public works contract because it goes over $35,000, and MJ would have to do that anyways and come to cover all the bases. In other words, the roof replacement, the soffit replacement, all the replacement on the interior of stuff that gets taken out with mold. So we still have to write documents. I mean, we just can't take the quotes we got and go ahead with it.
The quotes we got are, to my mind, not complete. I mean, I've looked at a couple of them. And one says, one of the roof estimates wasn't very expensive, but it also says we supply the roofing materials. So that's an added cost. They're going to do the labor. So without knowing what the materials are going to cost, their bid was, one of their estimates was $25,000 to $35,000. In read the fine print, it says we supply, all building materials. Well, then it's not going to cost $35,000. It could be way more than that. So I just think we need to get moving on this, and MJ gives us a couple more options than the other folks. So I think we sit down with them, and maybe we'll narrow the scope a little bit. Instead of 4 options, we have this paper in front of us. We pick a couple that we think work for us right now. But we can sit down with MJ and figure out what it is we really want them to do. If that's what the direction the board
We'll prices on that before we vote on accepting it. We can't accept it as it is. I agree with you there. Let's look at repairing what we have and maybe one other option.
But we're still going to need MJ to figure out what needs to be done.
That's right, but it's going to reduce that price. We're not looking at 4 different options.
Well, I think if we went with MJ on this, they're going to give us prices for option 1. They'll give us prices for option. They'll give us prices for all 4 options. Then we can decide what we want to go with. They'll know. But if we tell them just to look at option 1, fixing the roof, getting rid of the mold.
What is really feasible at this time? That's my question. What can we do?
I think what we're looking at, Mark, you're speculating a little bit.
Well, we're speculating on the whole thing. One of the options is tearing down town hall, and like I said,
what I want to do is to be able to put out to our constituents, here the options are. They may not like us just going in and rebuilding the old building. They may look at that as a waste of money. Quite frankly, it could be. We have outdated windows, we have outdated insulation, we have outdated heating systems that are all causing us problems.
And on the other hand, they may decide that an $8 million project is too expensive.
That's correct.
Okay.
Who knows what? I'm just throwing a number out there.
Yeah, I'm not going back and forth. We should throw a number out, throw the correct number out, or close to. But I'm not going to. If you're going to vote, go ahead. If you're going to make a motion, that's fine. I said what I have to say. Thank you.
You need a motion, buddy.
Yep. All right. So I'm making a motion that we accept the report of the proposal for services for the town hall study from MG Design for a lump sum fee of $37,000, and not to go over that. This will include updates. This will include updates and progress reports while they're working on it. Anything else that anybody can think of to add?
Benny, just add in there authorizing you to sign that contract for MJ, and that's our documentation.
Okay. And authorize myself to sign the contract and authorizing MJ to work.
You need a second? I'll second it.
I need a motion first. Somebody's got to.
I will make that motion.
Okay. Now we need a second.
Second.
Ryan seconded.
Any discussion? Councilman Blaisdell.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kerr.
No.
Councilman Froelich.
Yes.
Councilman Isaacson.
Yes.
Supervisor Zlotic.
Yes. Under new business, I have a couple of things. I've spoken to the undersheriff today. We have had a recent rash of vandalism at the town park. Doors have been broken into. Equipment has been damaged. He informed me today they'll step up their patrols of the area. I'm gonna, just for a second, on a little soapbox here, I'm a little disappointed. I understand things have happened in the past before, but employees I've spoken to have said not on this level and certainly not with this frequency. And so I guess I'm gonna ask the people, if you see somebody doing something they're not supposed to be doing, please give us a call or call 911, take a picture, write a license plate number down, something. Our maintenance crew has spent hours, literally hours, repairing doors, and the next day or the next day and a half, the doors beaten up again. Picnic tables have been damaged, windows have been broken in the restrooms. We are trying to leave the restrooms open for our IT department since the building is closed right now. We're trying to do the best we can under these circumstances, and it just saddens me very much that people think it's okay to go out and wreck somebody else's stuff. I think that's it for my soapbox for tonight. Again, I have to apologize. There were questions in the question and answer queue.
Can I say something under new business, please?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me say something first, Bart. Give these people a chance. There were questions in there. I believe Sharon Licata had a couple of questions. John Olenek had a question or a comment. You folks want to take a minute or two and write them back in. When I lost my connection, those went away. I know they were in there before, so I'm going to give you a few minutes to put those in.
This is a good new business. Yesterday I took a ride up to Boyhaven and saw Mr. Munter and was introduced to the executive director of the camp that's going in there. And they are doing phenomenal things. I think everyone would be happy with what's happening up there. Brand new bathrooms in the dining hall. They got the slabs poured for four new cabins, and one is framed out. Apparently, I didn't see them, but they've screened in all the lean-tos for use. So I think it's going to be a really good addition to our town. And thank you, Mr. Munter.
Will he remain the owner of the facility?
Pardon me?
Will he remain the owner of the facility?
No, he's selling it to the camp. They've got several of their members. I met a couple of them, like I said, and all I know is the executive director of it. They're thrilled. The people are thrilled. They're selling it to the camp, and he's helping them do some of the renovation. Oh, I know. He also said they ran 2 water lines through the whole place. They're installing gas lines. They're going to have one central gas tank, and the lines were going in. They've put a new septic system up at the dining hall to come up to code. Apparently Bill has been out there inspecting, and Bill's happy with everything that's being done. So they obviously won't be opening this year. They were hoping to. They will be opening next year. And it'll give them time to get everything in shape so they don't have any problems with the health department, or, and if there is a problem, it can be fixed. So, but the people are absolutely thrilled with the location and the facility.
Very nice, thanks.
Okay, that being said, I will open up to public comment. If anyone would like to speak, you'll have 3 minutes. Again, raise a hand. I will do my level best to get to you. And, let's see. Miss Herbst. You're up.
Thank you, Supervisor Zlotnick. I just wanted to again address the safety issue that was brought up several times in this meeting. I understand Mr. Frolish's points about safety. I think we've addressed all of those, with all of us talking about the various safety things we've installed in our houses, that all of our houses are up to code. But if we do want to focus on some of the safety issues in the town, I think there definitely are issues that need to be addressed. One of the biggest issues that I know is living on Akron Boulevard for the last 11 years is that I can only recall one time that the fire hydrants were flushed in this neighborhood. So if the issue is how many people are sleeping in a bedroom and worry about fire safety, I think the biggest issue concerning fire safety would be that the fire hydrants are working and have water running to them. One of the other issues in this neighborhood was that a house in this neighborhood burned to the ground. And I understand the volunteer firefighters are working, but part of the problem was that it took so long for a response. I think Saratoga Springs was the first fire department here. So I think if we're talking about safety issues, and especially as they relate to house fires and things like that, it's definitely something that the town should look into. There's a list of things that I've noticed recently. There's houses with garbage piled up, which is a public safety issue. There's things on people's front lawns, like boats and things like that shouldn't be parked on someone's front lawn. And the biggest one, I think, in our neighborhood is speed. People are constantly speeding down our road. We've addressed it several times, and those are the things that the residents in this area are worried about as far as safety goes. The last thing I'd like to say is, Mr. Froelich, speaking directly to you, I think part of the issue that a lot of us have is your demeanor. You speak down to us.
1 minute, ma'am.
Down to us as a group. And honestly, the way you speak to Miss Kerr, as a fellow female, I find abhorrent. And I think that if you want us to hear your side of the story, I think you need to sit down and figure out a way that you can address people that's not so demeaning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I answer the hydrant issue?
Sure.
Just to give you a little idea, Bridget, the hydrants are owned by a private water system. They do probably, I don't know if they flush them once a year, but I could certainly forward you all the records from the fire department. It was taken on themselves to flush it once a year for as many years as I can remember. They have been flushed. Fortunately, they are not really considered fire hydrants. They are flushing devices. That is because it's a private water system and we don't have a public water system in our town. To answer your other question on the house that burned down, in fact, the fire company that covers that area arrived at the same time the Saratoga Springs Fire Department arrived. The only reason that you didn't see that truck first because I had them stop at the hydrant and lay a line in. And I had the Saratoga Springs Fire Department actually come in and be the pumper to attack the fire. Just to give you some updates on all that.
Thank you, John. I can help out a little bit with that. I have seen signs that they were posted a few weeks back that said hydrant flushing, Heritage Springs Sewer Works, and they were flushing their hydrants. So I have seen that done this year. Can't speak to past practices, but John, if you have records, that's good to know. But I have seen hydrants.
To give you an idea, Benny, Heritage, that's not Heritage's system that they're on. They're actually on the system owned by Mooney.
Yep, but I'm just saying I've seen the signs that say Heritage Springs. I know they're doing their flushing, so.
And this is the second complaint I've had about that system not being flushed. And I did talk to Mr. Mooney and put a gentleman in touch with him that put the complaint in.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Mr. Rossi.
And
can you sir, I believe.
All good to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay, again, 63 Saratoga Ave, Apartment B. First, just to respond again to the recent comment, it is not about the people that are at this meeting that are claiming that they have great homes. At the end of the day, Mr. Froelich had done research a few months ago about people that had a lack of egress in basements that were possibly being utilized for housing people. And it's pretty bush league to call out the fire department in situations where people may be, in fact, knowingly putting people at risk in such a situation, because the fire department's not going to be able to save somebody that's trapped in a basement, no matter what the response time is, if they can't get out, or the fire department can't get in the first place to get them out. That's the issue. To basically start pointing at the fire safety folks in this community for what people are doing wrong isn't right. That said, Barb, I I'd say it this way, unfortunate pleasure speaking with you on Saturday to bring up to you that Pat Southworth, who's been involved in our different towns and community here. Patty Southworth was the former Boston supervisor. Pat is her husband, for those that don't know. He passed away in Durango, Colorado in a whitewater rafting accident. He's going to be missed. He is a friend and a mentor over the years. I had posted a link on Facebook about it. I just want to bring up his memory here, and prayers to Patty and her family. A truly terrible loss. Mr. Supervisor, I know you were kind of out of reach, but I asked Barb to pass that on Saturday when I reached out to her. Pat crossed both sides of the aisle very much. And for me to call Barb is ironic. We don't always get along, Barb, but Pat probably was smiling at that phone call. Just the fact that we reached out and had a good call and good talk about him.
I'm sure he was, and I really appreciated the call. And I was going to ask you, do you have an update on Patty?
Patty is okay in terms of physically. She's fine. Mr. Supervisor, I do have one more point to make, so don't count this completely against me. Patty is fine, but obviously a little bit lost. They were inseparable, Barb, as you know. Her daughter came out to join her. I believe the autopsy, according to articles, was going to be done today. We're still waiting to see the official memorial service information. I think I didn't check today to see if anything got updated. But she had reached out to my sister on Saturday night, and obviously was pretty distraught, and with good reason. For folks that know of any pharmacist type jobs or whatnot locally, once things are moving again for her, she's going to need something to keep her mind off of what has happened. And so please, direct us to those possible openings, and we'll make sure that she at least has that to come back to at some point in time. She's been a really big contributor to our community, and I think we can all vouch for that, Barb, right?
Absolutely. And unfortunately, this is a year that no one is going to forget, and boy, I'd like to get it behind us. My thoughts are with Patty and the family. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I just want to bring up one other thing, and Pat was always a big guy on accountability for all of our government officials. There are concerns right now, Mr. Supervisor, that bills aren't being paid in the town. It might be because of the comptroller issues that have occurred, and I understand staffing and personnel issues, but when bills aren't paid, we put credit at risk, and there's a real thought out there right now that property taxes, the ability to collect them on time, is going to be a really tough thing to do, because people are going to pay their mortgages before they pay their property taxes, if they can pay anything at all, ultimately. And so it's one of those things where you may have to do a bridge loan like Boston Spa had to do to keep operating. If
30 seconds, Frank.
Yep, if folks can't operate in that way. And if your credit's at risk, that means you're going to pay a higher interest rate for it. We need to get our town's finances in order if any level of this is true, so that we aren't really getting even hit harder than we should be under the current circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up will be Carrie.
Hello, thank you, Carrie Jackson, 924 MacArthur Drive. I do want to address that we are not speaking ill against any of our first responders or our firemen and anyone who comes to our neighborhood to help us out in any kind of situation. But I do believe what we are saying is the town needs to get their act together before you come knocking on my door asking me if I have a fire hydrant. We have major issues. Hydrants have not been flushed. Mr. Mooney has been contacted numerous times over the past 10 years, sometimes 10 to 12 times a year, with us telling him that we turn on our faucets and we suddenly have no water. And then we have all of the other issues. Thank you for paving our roads. Finally, you want to talk about safety issues, how about all of that? But thank you for that. So I think the point is the bigger issue of the town making sure that your job as far as safety is concerned is done before you come talking to me about mine. You don't pay me. I pay you taxes to make sure that those things are done. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Sharon Licata.
Hi, can you hear me?
You're up.
Hi, I would like to address a couple of things. First, I would like to request that when referencing a resolution to be approved or discussed at a board meeting, that a description of the resolution be included on the agenda. Even better if it could be attached to the website for resident review. Also, while reading the minutes of the planning board meeting on February 19th this year, there was an agenda item called the Gateway House / Airport Lands Minor Subdivision of the SBL, with the stipulation that the Gateway House is situated on an airport property. The county is looking to create a subdivision to separate that land from the airport and make two parcels out of the current one, as the FAA says it shouldn't be part of airport property. What has changed, please? That property has existed for a long time, and I looked at the planning board meeting minutes in May, and there was no record, nobody following up on any of this. I'd like to know what's going on with that. It's being near the airport. It makes us nervous over here that something's going on with the runways again. Furthermore, the new fence surrounding the airport property was slated to begin. Has that been postponed? Those are my first two items. And then I have one other one. The town of Milton Highway Department, I see, is working with a reduced workforce. It says so on the website due to the coronavirus. Has the town of Milton taken advantage of furloughing those employees so their wages can be paid by the state and federal government versus the town of Milton? Or will we be reimbursed anyway? Those are my questions tonight.
Thank you, Sharon. I can answer a couple of those questions as a member of the Buildings and Grounds Committee at the county level. The Gateway House was separated out. It still belongs to the county. They are working on an agreement with the Gateway House to come to some type of agreement as to dollar rental, free rental, whatever. It's still county property. The town is not going to have anything to do with that piece of land. Let's see. The fence is still going to be done, but I believe it's been put off to next year because of funding. And there are no plans, as of last month, there are no plans to extend any of the runways. There will be some clearing of land for the fencing, but like I said, there are no plans to extend any of the runways. We will work at getting the resolutions or motions, or resolutions anyway, put on the website. And the town highway department is at full strength. They are in the middle of their big, spring and summer work and cleanup. So no one has been let go at this time. As a matter of fact, I'll kind of kill two birds with one stone here. I see Mr. Olenek has a comment and a question too. Our budget committee have begun the process. We are actually on our third controller of the year here, so finances are a little out of date, but we are paying our bills. The employees are being paid, and 99% of our bills are being paid on time. Our credit rating, I believe, is going to be okay, and we are going to sit down. I will sit down this week with our new controller. We will go over some items that we need to go over, and I'm hoping to have a full report for everyone at our meeting on the 24th. Our sales tax check for the month of March, which we received it was down $60,000, but we are still up for the year, because the checks that we got in January, February, March, and April were for the last quarter of last year. when the economy was chugging along very well. So we are still up for the year. We know that we are facing some difficult decisions coming up, but we have almost $100,000 by not filling spots that were in the budget. Brenda's department is $20,000 to $25,000 savings. We have not hired a part-time person in the business office. That's another $25,000. So we are doing the best that we can. We are all aware of the financial situations that we're going to be facing this summer with no SPAC and no track, and we will address those issues when we need to. I think anyone who knows me knows that I'm not going to jump into this feet first. We're taking our time, and if tougher decisions need to be made, then the board will have to make them down the road. I think that answers most of the questions.
Does, thank you.
Can I say one other thing, Benny?
Sure, John.
We also received from the state, which we're nervous about, our CHIPS funding.
Yep.
And our winter maintenance funding, both of which were I shouldn't say 100% our CHIPS funding. They deleted $16 out of 100,000. So we really didn't get hurt there, but we had anticipated from the governor losing 20%, and we actually didn't. So that's a positive note.
That's good news.
At this time, our budget committee is waiting to see when the controller and I get together and straighten these things out. And when that happens, we will have a much better idea where we stand. And then we can look for recommendations. I think overall for the first 6 months of the year, we're in pretty good shape. I'm not sure in September or October. I don't think anyone is sure where we're going to be in September or October. We will know better when we see our check for April and May, which I know isn't going to please everybody, but that's 30 to 60 days from now. And if those checks are significantly lower, then we'll have to really our belts for the next year or two. With that, I will close public comment.
I thought John Olenek had a comment.
He wanted to know what our recommendations were.
Oh, okay.
Oops, I forgot to mute you. I'm sorry, Sharon. Say that. And I think I've answered Mr. Olenek's questions as best as I can. I would like to suggest that by the 24th we will be meeting in person. We will keep you updated, but I think we will be able to do that with protocols in place. We'll put chairs 6 feet apart. If you're not husband and wife, we're going to ask you to space yourselves out. We may limit it. We will do the math on the building here and figure out how many people we can have. We'll be nowhere near the 90 people that we used to have in town hall. We just don't have the space because we're using much of this building for town offices. We will take a look at what we can do for the space we're going to design and designate as town hall meeting space. That will be the same space for planning and zoning meetings. We will continue to Zoom the meetings. We will try to figure out some way to do that for everyone. If you wish to stay, safe and in your residence, I certainly understand your apprehension. Anyone coming into the building to attend a meeting will be required to wear a mask until further notice. And there'll be new standards coming into it, as we will get those posted on our website and our Facebook page as soon as we can. And to be honest with you, the federal government or the state changes those regulations almost on a daily basis. There's always an update, and I just had a phone call the other day from one of the pastors in town. They had to take all their hymnals and Bibles out because they were worried about the transfer of paper. And then a couple of days later, someone said, well, I read this story on the internet, says paper can't pass it. So I had no idea what to tell the pastor. I told them to do their own research, and whatever would work for their church was fine with me. Anybody have anything else for tonight?
You had one more person, Benny, for public comment.
Oh, Heather, I'm sorry. I couldn't, to be honest with you, Heather, I couldn't remember if I called on you or not. So, okay, Heather?
Thank you so much. I just wanted to comment again. Thank you for the repeal of the rental law. I wanted to say, this is bigger than the rental law. This is transparency in our local town government. I think the biggest thing that's been a real irritant for a lot of us is that we're getting this quote unquote research that's been done, but we're not given any hard facts about what the findings are. And I appreciate that 4 of you on the board are looking forward to conversations with the community to talk about what those resolutions can be, because we're all willing to work together. It's really difficult to sit and listen to town officials refer to us as those people and not to listen to our true concerns, because I think at the end of the day, we all share the same concerns about our town that we all love. And we appreciate the work that you do, and we appreciate the work of the fire department, and we appreciate that you want to keep the town safe. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think I got everybody there. It looks like I have. So, any other business, board members? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to say just one thing. It's been a heck of a year for our students, and most of them are not going to have the graduation ceremonies that we all had. And I want to take a second here and congratulate the class of 2020 for their hard work. And yes, you may not have the graduation ceremony you wanted, and it'll be a year you never forget, but I want to take just a second here and congratulate all our seniors and wish them well in whatever their endeavors are. Some of your plans may be on hold for a couple of months while your colleges or your jobs figure out what to do with you. But I think I can speak for the board, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And thanks for hanging in there with us and doing your part in keeping everybody safe. So congratulations to the class of 2020. Go Scotties. Motion to adjourn.
How about the Blue Streaks?
Where? Where? This is the town of Milton.
Yeah. I'm in Saratoga School District, and so are all those people on Ackland. So.
Well, then go Blue Streaks too.
I gotta agree with you on that.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, another Saratoga alumni. Yes, my mistake. Yes, congratulations to the class of 2020 from Saratoga Springs also, and good luck to you guys. Motion to adjourn.
To make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See everybody on the 24th. Thank you all. Have a good night.